What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the LivBtr Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Ciano, CEO of Sabre Advisors. On today's episode, I have Nicoline Roth, a client and friend, the owner of Nordic Strong. Nordic Strong is a boutique fitness concept revolutionizing the industry with the Nordic Trainer. The Nordic Trainer is a patented multifunctional fitness machine inspired by cross-country skiing. Nordic Strong has a very successful location in Denmark, and I am excited to be bringing them to New York City in 2025. I hope you enjoy the episode.
I just want to have peace. Pay for the bill, let them take my card, never see the receipt. Good health, we prize, but everybody around prosperity.
What's up, guys, and welcome to the LivBtr Podcast. This is your host, Jay Ciano, and this is the show for people trying to optimize every area of their life. Let's go.
I just want to have peace.
So I would like to welcome to the show my friend Nicoline Roth, the founder of Nordic Strong.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome to the LivBtr Podcast.
Thank you.
So let's start with Nordic Strong. So tell everybody exactly what it is and tell us a little bit about the studio.
Yes. So Nordic Strong is a fitness concept that I founded in Copenhagen. The workout itself is a high-intensity, low-impact workout that's centered around the Nordic Trainer, a patented fitness machine that we manufacture. The Nordic Trainer combines the cardio aspects of cross-country skiing with targeting strength exercises and movements to increase mobility and balance.
Love it.
And our studio in Copenhagen, we have one. We bought the patent for this machine. I found out about the machine. I started training on it. And it was so effective on my body that I was like, I need to create a concept around this machine. So our studio concept came out of the machine.
Got it.
So the studio, that captures the Nordic way of life. So the Nordic way of life is a lot of coziness. It's a lot of time spent in nature. It's a lot of winter swimming, using the saunas, and so on. So our studio, with our workout, when you walk into the studio, it's like a journey into this Nordic way of living. So everything from our design to the way that we teach is based on the Nordic way of life. We have scents, sounds, and lights that are inspired by the Nordics. So inside our studio room, our lights are inspired by the Northern Lights. We offer 3 different types of classes: a Pilates-based class, a strength class, and a cardio class. And the lights in each class differ a little bit, but they're picked from the Northern Lights, but they're still based on color psychology in terms of how you train. So in the cardio class, where we're elevating the heart rate, you have stronger, darker lights. And in the sculpt class, which is the most, low impact, slow class, you have more lights that are a little bit more light, but still come from the Northern Lights. And besides that, inside the studio, it's a dark studio. You feel like you are in the Nordics. We have sounds around in every room that come from sounds like a Norwegian mountain sound, sort of. And then we have sense machines that give you a feeling of being in the Nordics. So that's the studio experience.
I'm personally so excited to expand that concept, because I think, when people ask me what I'm excited about right now in group fitness, unfortunately my answer is there's not many concepts out there that I think are really unique. Yeah. And I think what you've created is very special, and you're hitting a bunch of different things, and you're actually introducing folks to a lifestyle that not only is unique, but is also becoming very popular.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So we, the training itself, the training itself is so different from anything you've ever seen, but it really taps into a lot of trends right now in terms of, in one single machine, it's low impact. Everything is very core focused. That you get your strength training, you get your cardio training, you get that mobility and the balance aspect, which in terms of like a longevity type of training,
sure,
it really hits it. But it's so different. You've never seen it before. Of course, the machine has been known for 15 years in Denmark before we bought it. And it's been used by cross-country skiers. I mean, they have the best VO2 max in the world.
Yeah.
So it's been an established machine, but we're now training on it a little bit differently.
Is that when you say the best VO2 max in the world, is that like zone 2 cardio, like just that consistent kind of like, more endurance?
Yeah, exactly. The endurance, right? So the machine is just so effective, and I think it's a really fun training experience because you have never seen it before. It's not a new way of using a treadmill or a new way of using a reformer.
Right.
In that sense, it's completely new. And then, I mean, in our training or in our classes, we get so many different people. We get a lot of people that come with, a discomfort in their joints or in their ankles, or people with injuries that come from other, I used to go to Barry's all the time, and I loved it. Yeah. But I just can't. I can't do that high impact training. Yeah. So
it's funny because I feel like that like HIIT training was so popular for so long, and I think that now that it's been popular and people have been doing it for a prolonged period of time, like that's when the injuries start to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have a bad knee, so I still love running on a treadmill here and there, but I can't do it every day. There's no way.
Exactly.
And the older you get, the tougher it becomes.
Yeah, exactly. And we can see in the classes that we offer in Nordic Strong, we offer these 3 different type of classes. Of course, the people that come for each class, they differ a little bit. We have more women in the sculpt class than we have in the cardio class. But you can also see in our demographics, we have the girls that come because it's a cool place to hang out and the design is beautiful, that are in their 20s. But we also get the women that are plus 60.
Sure.
Because they feel they get a completely new core strength and upper body, and they don't get bulky, but they get an all around good workout. Yeah. And then the actual studio experience, we really tried to make it the way that everything that we love about where we're from, we try to put that into the studio. So I really want people when they come into the studio to think, oh, I could have been with my friends out in nature, but I can't because I live in a big city. Yeah. So therefore I go here and I'm having such a cool time.
Yeah. So it's like I feel like it's a reprieve from the busy streets, and, which I think is why it'll translate really well in a place like New York City, where almost everything exists, but this doesn't. And you can't even do the actual look and feel of the studio justice by just talking about it. You actually have to see the lighting, the build out, the lighting, the colors, the branding. That matches your nail polish, and the outfit that you're wearing right now. But no, it's great because I think that you're very passionate about the lifestyle and bringing it to life and sharing it with other people. Yeah, exactly. Which is amazing.
And it's very interesting because you have all these trends going on. I mean, I know you love contrast therapy as well, but it's been so ingrained in the Nordic culture. I mean, the reason why people started doing winter swimming, we don't even call it cold plunging, like winter swimming, was because they were preparing themselves for the winter. Right.
But let's talk about that a little, because I'm curious, because when you say like it's just like a part of life growing up, right? Where you just like when you say winter swimming, like are kids going winter swimming?
School, like so. I mean, if you're a kid and you're in a school that's close to the water, then you'll go winter swimming. I mean, not alone, but you'll go with your teacher.
You will?
Yeah, 100%.
And what temperatures, like, when do you start doing that?
So we say that the winter swimming season starts in October. Yeah. So you start in October and then you end it in May.
And it's obviously you're going to give me temperatures in Celsius. And I'm going to try to convert them, and I'm not going to be good at it.
You say, you go... When it's cold, it's between 12 and 5 degrees.
12 and 5 degrees.
Yeah, so right now, I think in September, now it's around maybe 14, and then it goes down to 5. over the winter, so it gets really cold. So
what is 5 in Fahrenheit? Is that
I want to say like
30s?
like upper 30s,
something like that.
Yeah,
which is very cold.
Yeah, exactly.
Sub 40 is
exactly.
Really cold.
And so in our studio in Copenhagen, we're on the water, so we don't need a cold plunge. We can jump in the ocean.
Yeah.
But we also have a sauna. So the concept was really...
It's like heaven.
Exactly. So the concept was really taking, all these great things from the way that we're living our life and putting it into the studio. So we have also this class called Nordic Warrior. We just started doing breathwork as well. So we have this class called Nordic Warrior where you do breathwork and then you do winter swimming and then you do sauna. So you do like the 3 thing. So we have that in Copenhagen.
Yeah.
We are not going to have the sauna when we open in New York.
Yeah.
We've spoken a lot about how do you choose the space,
Sure.
It all comes down to how, like, what the rent is, right?
Yeah.
But we're then trying to, some of these like mental aspects that you get from cold plunging or sauna, we're trying to put that into our classes.
Right.
So in our sculpt class, in the Pilates-based class, we end on a breath work. So so if we don't have a sauna, you still get that like sense of like peace and belonging and centering yourself in the class.
Love that.
Yeah.
So, and again, I'm just curious, again, within the culture, are you like, do people just genuinely get happy when it gets colder?
Yes.
I
love the cold.
I do too.
I'm not a summer girl.
I know, but it's interesting because like most people in the US like try to escape the cold.
No, I mean, so anybody that comes to Denmark in the summer will say this is such an amazing place, and all Danes will say, yeah, wait until it's January.
Yeah.
January is not a nice month in Denmark.
Yeah.
So people are not loving that, but I think,
which is similar to New York.
Yeah,
that's like
exactly.
The same thing.
It's like a great month. But there's a very big culture of, and I do it myself, like sometimes in the morning, we go like 15 people together.
Yeah.
We put on our bathrobes and we walk the streets of Copenhagen, and then we go in the water and we get a coffee afterwards.
That's so cool.
And how, like, what
it's community.
It's community,
Yeah.
right? It's like, one thing is getting into the water. Like, I was cold plunging this morning at Remedy, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But there you only get like the physical effects or the physical benefits. But doing this,
and it's like a solo mission.
It's like a solo mission, right? Which can be great as well. But doing it in a big group and walking down and cheering on each other, it's incredible what it does to you. It really, for me, it like makes my day.
It's interesting because I feel like even in New York City, like it would be possible to kind of recreate some of that experience the way that there's run clubs, being 100%. Able to like just literally go for a walk in a cold temperature as a group. Yeah, 100%. Like you don't necessarily have to go into the water or you can go somewhere else, and kind of transition.
We actually,
so we need Nordic Strong ropes. That's kind of
exactly.
what I'm saying.
We're going to go to the Hudson River.
Exactly. I don't know. Maybe not. We'll find somewhere else.
But I mean, in our, a thing we do in our classes that is kind of the same or has the same effect of going in a group and jumping in the water. We do, at the end of a lot of our classes, we do challenges and we do in-class challenges. So it'll be like you have to do 1,000 meters on the Nordic Trainer, only doing double pulling, which is like the most basic cardio exercise. But you could either do it against yourself or you can do it against others in the room. And then we create this atmosphere where people are like cheering on each other, clapping, and you're switching between the machine and the floor. So you get like an incredible vibrant room. Yeah. So again, like goes back to trying to really create that nice community feeling that we have at home.
I think that's like the main thing that will keep like in-person group fitness going forever because 100%. How else are you like doing a workout alone and like checking the box, like, oh, I got a good sweat. Exactly. I lifted some weights, whatever it is, that's fine. Yeah. But like, I think the best part of the community being fit and healthy is sharing that experience with other people.
Yeah, exactly.
And challenging yourself, with other people, right?
Yeah,
I think that's
exactly.
a big thing that can only be accomplished in a group setting.
100%.
Yeah.
And we're trying to kind of, I think we differentiate ourselves a little bit on that.
Yeah.
And we are, creating leaderboards within our app system and so on. So whether you're in one studio or if you're in the next studio here, you can still bring everybody together through these challenges, and people can see, who did the best time this week and so on.
So there's a connectivity between the actual equipment and like a leaderboard. So you don't have to be in person next to each other.
Exactly.
Oh, that's very cool. That's amazing. So when are we opening in New York City?
Let's see. I'm hoping next year, I'm not hoping. Next year after summer.
Yes.
So the idea is to finalize or sign a lease agreement within a month, maybe.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And then comes the whole process of planning and building out the studio and doing a lot of pop-ups over the summer, I'm guessing, before we open.
So I want to know more about you. So were you always into fitness? Were you an athlete? Yes. Tell me where this all started.
Yes. So I have always, my background is not in fitness. My background is in business. But I've always been into sports. So I played handball, which no Americans know what is, but it's a big sport in Denmark. I played golf as well. I did gymnastics, and then I started doing fitness. And I was doing a semester at Columbia University in New York, and I started doing boutique fitness, and I was just so into like Soul Cycle, all these cool places where I really felt that they had done something. There was a reason why I was in that room, why the lights were like that, or why the music were exactly like the music was, and I was really into that vibe. So I've always been into fitness and then creating and then just experiencing this whole ride inside these studios. So that's always been in the back of my mind that I wanted to create something myself.
How did you go from like the inspiration of going to Soul Cycle, going to Barry's, to actually like creating the concept?
So my brother had the Nordic Trainer. It used to be called the Thorax Trainer. He had it at home. He was training for.
What's the difference between that piece of equipment and like what people would know as like a Nordic track, right? Because that's like the only thing. If you don't know the piece of equipment.
Yes. So our machine. So if you compare it to, I think the best comparison would be for the Concept 2 ski erg, where you pull down, right? That has one exercise. Yeah. The Nordic Trainer has an exercise that's similar to that one. It's called double poling, but so it's flat and has two poles at the front. You can either push the poles back or pull them. So it has more than 50 different exercises. So besides this one exercise, double poling, where you really work the full body, you can do exercises where you only target your arms or your legs or your abs. So it has a lot of different exercises. Whereas most of these, most of these machines have one exercise you can do on it, right?
It's funny because I never like really understood what a ski erg was for until I did this 29029 Everesting challenge. Like, and it was my first time using poles to hike. Yeah. And like we had inclines of like up to like 45%. And when we were getting to those types of inclines, you were completely relying on getting your poles in the ground and pulling yourself up. I'm like, now I know what the ski erg's for. Like, thank God I've been using that thing.
But I like our machine better. I think
of course.
The way that you're pulling down, you use a lot of upper body pushing down.
It's not like a natural movement.
No, it's not a natural movement. No, exactly. So the Nordic Trainer was created by a former cross-country skier and doctor. So he created it because you can't cross-country ski in Denmark because there's no snow and it's flat. Right. So it's like a 1-to-1 to being on a cross-country ski track, right? With double poling, but then it has all these other exercises that you could do. But so my brother had the equipment because he was training for a race, and then I started training on it myself.
Training for what kind of race?
Cross-country ski race.
Oh, cross-country. Okay.
Yeah. So I started training on it, and in the beginning I was like, "What is this?" Like the equipment looked weird, but I started, just like just started like literally like pulling the poles back and forth, and I could just feel how it worked my muscles really well. And then I thought, okay, I'm gonna contact a Pilates instructor. A friend of mine, I invited her over and I asked her, how would you do it? How would you train on it? Do you like it? And she's like, this is incredible, right? I've never heard about it. And from there, from my experience here, you know, in the US, going to all these brands that you don't have in Denmark, you do have berries now, but at that time you didn't. I just started thinking about this concept. Like, it just made sense for me. And I personally, one of my favorite things to do is bringing people together. And it came natural to me, and it made sense to create a brand that you do for the US. So I knew when I founded the concept that I wanted to bring it to the US eventually. So everything, you know, down to our programming is done with the US in mind. So all our classes are in English. The way that they teach is also created from the experience that I've had over here. So I actually think it's an easier concept for us to launch in the US than it was in Copenhagen. Because it's not, we don't teach in a very Scandinavian way. So, and our instructors have had to learn how to teach in that American way. So yeah, I thought about it, and then that was my, you know, I was like, this is a great concept. You have an amazing, effective machine. And if you create this studio around it that becomes a place where people come, they feel like they're getting stronger, but they also feel like they get like a sense of belonging through some of these other things that we're doing with the sauna, with the breathwork and so on, then it's a wonderful place to be at.
So when did the opportunity to actually purchase the company that manufactures the equipment come into play?
Yeah, so we reached out to the guy who had the company, and I don't think it was, they were selling primarily to men and to triathletes and cross-country skiers. They didn't have any aspect of like a tech integration or anything. So we reached out to him, and I think he was happy to kind of pass it on.
It's crazy how like you know, these opportunities present themselves along the way.
But it's been an incredible journey. I mean, when we started, and I think a lot of people thought, what is this machine? What is she doing? But I so firmly believe in what this piece of equipment can do. So we've spent some time on changing some design things, making it a little bit more sleek. Then we've opened this one studio in Copenhagen, and now we're focused on we already have, you know, a few locations that we're looking at here. And then the next thing will really be to execute on our tech integration. We do have an app already for the machine, so when you train at home, you can follow instructor-led workout videos. But I need to kind of, the whole tech environment needs to be changed a little bit, but that will come after we open the first one here. So
how many people are working out in the studio in Denmark? How many people are in one class?
So we have, and this is one of the things when you start out as a founder, right? You start with one idea, and then you have to change it a bit. So
the evolution of like creating something, an idea into reality.
Exactly. Yeah. So we have a large room, and we had 18 machines, 18 mats. And we would have 18 people starting on the machine, 18 on the floor, and then you switch, kind of like berries. And berries was actually the inspiration for doing it like that. There is some technique to the machine. So I have found out that you should only have one group of people
on the machine.
Right?
Otherwise, it's confusing, like a little bit.
It's hard for the instructor to teach. There is a lot of cues. So we do every exercise on the minute. So she needs to cue everybody on the floor while she's cueing people on the machine. And she's like, you know, you're doing double pulling, and then she says, okay, go back to squat to pull. But it's a lot of words, and she needs to correct people as well to make sure they have the right form. And then there's another aspect that you have your own poles for the machine, but the people on the floor may have a different height, so they also need poles. So there's some switching there that can be confusing. It works fine in Copenhagen. I don't think it will work here. I think people need their own poles, their own station. So we have, to answer your question, we have 36 spots now it's gonna be a little bit less when we change it, but everybody will have their own station, which I think is much better than to be doing this switching throughout the class. Yeah, exactly.
It'll be less confusing.
Yeah, exactly.
Less going on in the class.
So it's one of those things that it's like being an entrepreneur is like trial and error. I'm literally building the airplane while I'm flying.
Yeah, that's pretty much the definition of an entrepreneur.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? It's like, and it's 0 to 1 is really the toughest
100%.
thing.
Yeah.
And you guys are doing really well.
Yeah.
I mean, it must feel pretty good to, especially when people are like, what is she doing with this machine?
Yeah, exactly.
And you build a studio out and it's successful and
exactly.
It's got to feel pretty good.
And it's if I look back to when we started, it's a year and a half ago now, and it's become like an established thing now. There was the beginning. It took a while for people to learn how to use the machine. Of course. But I also think people love it.
Well, it's not a bike.
It's not a bike.
It's not a piece of equipment that everybody's already familiar with.
Exactly. So there was a learning aspect to it. But it's become like an established thing now in Copenhagen. It's actually quite interesting whenever I have, because we have ClassPass in Denmark, so we often get Americans from ClassPass. So it could be people that are expats or people that are on a work trip or whatever that check on ClassPass which studios to go to. And it's actually interesting. Most Americans, they get it right away.
Really?
Yeah, because of this. I think it's because of the whole... I think it's again because of this experience that we've kind of created and the vibrant atmosphere in the room. It's dark, you have the lights, it's just high energy. Yeah. And that fits well with the American culture. Definitely. In terms of fitness. And
I feel like that's why I love taking a Barry's class, because you're in the space.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like immersive. Yeah. The outside world is shut off. And you could work really hard in there, but it goes by quick.
Yeah,
you got it done. It was fun. It was hard, and you're out.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's, my wife and I love that because it's just like, again, you're checking the box, but you're having fun doing it, right? It's kind of like, for me, taking on like the enjoyment I used to get in a nightclub. Yeah. I'd rather go to a morning class like that and hear good music loud and have a good time with people while I'm working hard.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think like I said, there's not many concepts that really come to mind that are doing something new and unique. Yeah. Do you see anything out there that's interesting that
I mean, I actually I just tried another concept that's also launching in the US.
What's it? Which
Strong Pilates. It's Australian. I actually flew to London to try it out.
Really?
Yeah, because it's a reformer combined with a rower. So you have the carriage in one end, and then you have a carriage at the other end as well, but it's smaller, and that's your seat for the rower.
Interesting.
So it's in one machine.
Yeah, I didn't realize that's what it was.
And so it's actually very similar to ours. So the Nordic Trainer, you should think of it as a reformer with cardio, because it's the same muscles that you're activating basically, but you get the cardio aspect. And again, so in that sense, it's very similar to Strong Pilates. It's a different experience, the actual like studio experience.
What does their studio look like?
It's very light.
Like minimalist? I think I saw photos.
It's just light and not open, light, and then you have a logo at the end. That's it.
Like basic.
Yeah, like you get like Orange Theory vibes maybe.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But a great workout. And so
how do you go from the reformer to the...
You just jump off. They just say like, now you jump off and then you go to the other end. But again,
you go back and forth.
Yeah, you go back and forth.
Is different,
no, every class there's like 4 different classes. Yeah. But then there's like a sweat class and a strong class, and in the sweat class you do like 4 minutes on the rower, and then you go on the other end and you do like 10 minutes, and then you keep doing that throughout the class.
I just feel like that now that everything's been done, that it's just going to be like, let's combine a ski erg and a bike now.
No, exactly. I was just doing this other podcast earlier, and they asked me, aren't you scared to bring something into the US? Why choose the US? It's the hardest market to get into. And I was like, actually, no. Well, I mean, it's of course a big risk, but I feel very good about it because it's so unique. It's because you haven't seen it anywhere else. It's not a new way of using a treadmill or a new way of using a reformer. It's you only have Nordic Strong. There's not another concept that's similar. There's not another machine like it. So that makes me feel really comfortable.
It's funny because like when it's for me, the US is the only thing I know really well.
Yeah.
So like that question doesn't even come to mind for me. I actually look at it the opposite, where I feel like if you have a good concept and it's well thought out and it's working somewhere else, that again, like when you're building it with the US in mind, the way that you are, I think that it should not be very difficult to actually enter the US and understand where to locate. You just have there's pitfalls that people that don't have the right team around them fall into, where exactly what you said, right? Like if we're taking prime retail space that we're paying a high per square foot rent on and then putting a big sauna in, you know, that probably wouldn't be smart in New York City. But again, I feel like, you know, and using Solid Core as an example or Orange Theory as an example, like being at the beginning stages of them coming into these markets and at the beginning stages of the brands in general, like it seems so easy to me because I guess I've done it so many times. And I kind of don't realize how special those brands really are. You know, like there aren't many of those brands, you know, but at the end of the day, I don't think there's very many, like I said, like unique, differentiated brands that have something different, that also understand how important it is to build beyond the four walls of the studio. Right? So like the fact that the US is starving for your lifestyle already, you know, and like a place like Othership comes into the US and like is absolutely crushing it because people just want like it's almost like in some ways I was having this conversation with Kenny Santucci last night where he's like, you know, the just fitness is never gonna be like there used to be a spin studio on every corner, there used to be this, there used to be that. And I said to him, I'm like, you know, like, Kenny, you have to realize in my business going through 2 decades of this, it's like, what's the next frozen yogurt, right? Like there was always a frozen yogurt store on every corner. There's always something that's like trendy. But I think in the wellness space, now people realize that it's not just about the hard workout all day, every day. There's so much more to it. 100%. It's about recovery, right? 100%. It's about embracing like overall wellness, which is why I think, you know, like everybody's now like really craving the other things in addition to the fitness too.
Yeah, so we have like, I mean, we've spoken about this exactly, like, should we put in the sauna?
Yeah.
Also, if you look at like, you know, the longevity trends, I mean, you have different you have exercise, nutrition, sleep. There's so many different ways that you could pursue longevity in the fitness and wellness space. But as you're saying, like you have the amount of square feet that you have. So you just have to think about it. How do you implement it? It that doesn't take up space, whether that's bringing in a breathwork into a class. Whether that's really pursuing, you know, certain things or values in the community that makes people feel good about themselves while they're there. But I also think when you look at if you look at New York, and if you want to, I've been testing out studios. There are not that many studios to test out. I mean, there are a lot of studios, but you test out. I mean, I always go to Solid Core because I love it. But you have Solid Core, you have Berries. You don't even have SoulCycle anymore, right? They're closing. You go to a Y7 Yoga. There aren't that many concepts.
No, and it's crazy because, you know, Solid Core is my client. Y7's my client. You're my client. It's like, it's getting, the world is getting smaller and smaller. And Ann Malum, the founder of Solid Core, is my business partner, right? So like, and Ann always says, like, focus on what you're really good at and you'll win, right? Exactly. And that's what you did with Solid Core. And now when you take into consideration that every time I open my phone, I get a some sort of like post on my favorite places to do contrast therapy, right? And we're just at the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah,
so we know that Sauna House is going to come with 25 locations in New York City. There's going to be one on every corner, so it's like, again, like my advice to you has always been focus on being really 100%. Good at what you're good at,
and then you can work with these places, right? If you
and then you're sharing community.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're on a street with a sauna house or a remedy or whatever it is.
And you're not competing with them.
You're not competing with them. Do a collaboration with them. I'll bring clients to you. You can bring clients to me.
We'll walk there in robes.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Perfect.
So yeah, I think it's that. I also think if you're bringing a new concept, that concept needs to be good enough to stand alone.
I agree.
So if you have the Nordic Trainer, if the Nordic Trainer can't stand alone, well, sorry, I know you still want to bring in all these different, the recovery and the prevention and so on. It needs to be able to stand alone. Otherwise, you don't have a good concept.
Yeah, I agree.
So
because everything else is like, just kind of the bells and the whistles.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the add-on. It's
exactly.
Not
and then you can always, if you, let's say now the locations that we've been looking at, which is, in Manhattan, very expensive and so on. Let's say you open a few here, and then later on, you open another space where there is more space. You can always put in a sauna there. It's you don't have to limit yourself. Yeah. But the concept itself should be just training. Yeah. And of course, then focus on how you do the training. We do the different classes, so it's the same thing you go to over and over again. We also, when we open here, I think it's important, for instance, to have Scandinavians working at the front desk. Sure. Right? Because then you get this Nordic vibe without having to be in the Nordics. So there's like little things I think you can do.
Yeah, the culture.
The culture, you get that nice sense of belonging there. Yeah. That's how I've always felt when I went to Joe and the Jews, for instance. There are always Danes working there, or Norwegians, right? It's the same thing. Yeah. So I think we'll try to do that, and then the other things we'll wait with. I mean, the breathwork I really wanna integrate, because for me it's so important for myself and for my focus and how productive I am and so on. So in some way it's gonna get integrated into the concept, but again, you can just do it in a class. You don't need extra space.
Totally. Yeah, it's so smart. You don't have to spend money building out an extra no, exactly. Additional square footage.
But in the way that we are building, I mean, since we're, you're advising us, and since I think I'm a huge fan of Anne and what she's done with Solid Core, right? And the way that she's built out all the studios, no waste space whatsoever. Yeah. And today people you put in a few showers. Yeah. You sweat more in a Nordic Strong class than a Solid Core class.
She would tell you it doesn't matter.
So
she would tell you, like, I'm on calls with her all day, every day with hot yoga concepts where she tells you it doesn't matter.
Yeah. But even if we only put in like one or two, because you wanna have, if you want, you wanna put the space in the studio room. The rest, you should have a nice lounge when you come in, of course, so you don't feel too crowded. But I think really optimize on that space.
It's really, this is a good, like, kind of teachable moment for people in general, because having a really well thought out plan that maximizes the efficiency of a space. Yeah. And then, by the way, like, having a space that looks like it was really, really expensive to build, but isn't necessarily really, really expensive to build, is critical. Yeah. And companies like Barry's, like companies like SoulCycle, they would spend so much on their build out. Yeah. And, like, honestly, I think that the math on a Barry studio is actually a challenge for them to sell the company right now. So they've been in the process of selling for a long time, and that's what I'm hearing, that they're just having a difficult time because of just the cost to open a studio and the profitability of the studios, et cetera, et cetera. And there's really not many companies like Solid Core that are as profitable as quickly. Yeah. Again, because everything is streamlined, and they've proven that you can do it that way, and you can do it well.
I mean, when we did the build out in Copenhagen, I mean, the Copenhagen build out is relatively expensive because we did it as like the first like proof of concept.
Totally, and you learn along the way.
Yeah, exactly. But we don't have that many materials.
Yeah.
You know, all the colors are very streamlined. They're dark. You know, you walk into a lot of studios here. They're so light. You see the dirt everywhere.
Yeah.
It's such an easy trick.
Yeah.
Make the room dark. People, you can't, you know, it just look more
creates
luxurious. It creates a vibe, right? So even that we really thought about, okay, how can we create something in Copenhagen that we can take to the US and still make it Scandinavian, but with very few things. You know, then it's the logo, for instance, it's the N, as you can see on my finger here.
Yes. I know the logo very well. I can't wait to see it on an actual sign on a street.
Exactly. It's supposed to look like tracks in the snow, right?
So
you
cool.
have these things that will go back to, you know, again, to the Nordics, but it's just super simple. And
well, it's all beautifully designed. You know, it looks... what I loved about it the first time that we met was it looks like there's hundreds of locations already, which is not easy to accomplish at the first location. And you really have done a great job, and we can't wait to be able to actually work out.
But that's just, you know, that's me like listening to so many podcasts and reading books about, you know, from when I was little, like looking up to the ants of the world.
Totally.
And literally just taking that for my inspiration.
Yeah, but now you're like actually like in the same arena as the people that you admire.
Yeah, I mean, this week has been crazy.
It's crazy.
So many interesting people. I've been doing my 15-minute breath work in the morning, like centering myself, getting ready for the day.
Breath work,
you know, it's so, you know, we've both been doing all this hot cold, but the last year I've really gotten into breath work, and it's crazy what it's done for me. I mean, I can feel it I can feel it that I'm more centered. So there's like the body-mind connection is so much stronger.
Yeah.
But my focus and my productivity levels have skyrocketed.
Yeah.
I'm just able to like get in the zone in the morning. Yeah. And then I'll do like I'll write like an intention book. Like, right, what do I want to have out of my day every morning? It does wonders. Yeah.
It's the last thing that I like incorporated into my life that had that impact on me has been the hot and cold stuff. And I need, you know, like, you get
but
to
you do it already in the cold. I mean, you're using your breathing in the cold.
I'm not though. Like, I just jump in. I really don't. Like, it's
I've
funny.
seen
like,
the videos.
I don't do anything. I just get in, and now I'm at a point.
How long do you sit for?
So I'm of the mindset now, after doing it, you know, so much, I don't think that you need to be in there for more than 2-3 minutes. No. You know, if you're in there at like in the low 40s, high 30s, I just like, what's the point? You can also, for me, I'm, you know, the reason why people back in the days were doing winter swimming was to prepare themselves for the cold winter, because you're supposed to feel get used to it, to like acclimate to the weather.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm doing it every morning. I'm always freezing. So I'm waiting for the day for it to happen. So
you're freezing while you're in it,
no,
or like after?
I'm always freezing. I'm always freezing.
But I feel like you get out and like, you know, your body takes such a long time to actually adjust back.
Crazy.
But I feel like that's where the energy for me comes from, in that chill.
Yeah. I know what
so
you mean.
like when I have that chill, I feel like I'm a little bit more just focused and have that like, I'm in the zone. My
new routine is 10. I mean, sometimes it's a 4-minute breath work if I'm like in a hurry, you know. But no, between 5 and 15 minutes, and then I do
5 and 15 minutes of what?
Breath work in the morning.
That's a lot.
And then that's also your client. I used to use Open, the app, but I've taught myself how to make the breath work now. So I was going to ask you. Now I'm like finding my own music, and then I've started to learn the beat for the breathing, which I really love, because I can find music. Can you like send me like music? Yeah, of course. I have like playlists, like breathwork playlists. Please. So I do like 5 to 15 minutes, and then after that I'll write an intention or something that I'm grateful for. Yeah. And of course you can't write a new intention every day, so it's like the same. You don't force yourself. Yeah, exactly. I go between like 2 and 4 different intentions that I switch up between. I'll write it down, and then I'll bring that intention with me when I go in the water. So I think if you've thought about it before you go into the water, it kind of makes the experience a little bit stronger. Okay. Because you've already thought about it, and then you're in the water, you think about it again.
That makes sense, yeah.
And then you come out and you're ready for the day.
Yeah. And then what about sauna?
I rarely do sauna, actually. I don't do it in the summer.
Yeah.
In the winter I do it, but I prefer to do it at night.
Me too.
It's better for your sleep anyways to do it at night.
Yeah. How long typically?
If I do sauna goose, so we have sauna goose, which is, for the people listening who don't know it, it's a sauna class. Okay. Where it's a dry sauna, you put oils on the oven, and then the instructor, he has a towel that he swings, so you kind of get like that, sent the oils.
Which is like, what I experienced at other ship for the first time. I'm like, oh my God, this is the craziest thing ever. To you, it's like,
So we do that. If I do a sauna goose class, it's like 3 rounds of 15 minutes. Otherwise, I'll do like a 20-minute sauna.
3 rounds of 15 minutes and cold in between?
Yeah, cold in between. You start on cold, right?
So it is contrast?
It's a contrast. Yeah, you start on cold, then you have 15 minutes cold, again, and then you always end on cold, right? Never
so you start on cold and end on cold?
Yeah, you have to.
It's funny because so many people like start hot, which I think is so much easier.
So you want to start on cold because it's the cold shock.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can do the other way around, but it's better for you also mentally. Yeah. It's good for you to get that shock.
Yeah.
And then you also wanna end on cold because you want your body to heat up. You want your body to heat up itself.
Oh, is that?
So and also for your metabolism and so on, it's good for the body to heat up itself. Also, if you see people at home that are doing cold plunging outside, they do these movements after. They don't put on a towel. Yeah. They do these movements. Yes. Where they're like heating up their bodies themselves. Right. Which is really healthy.
It is. Mm-hmm. I need to figure that out.
Yeah.
Because now that the weather's turning.
Yeah.
I'll be doing it outside, but I kind of like move a little bit, but I don't like nothing specific.
I was this morning. We did 6 minutes at Remedy. I was shaking for like 20 minutes after.
You did 6 minutes?
Yeah, they do.
At
like
what time? I know they do. They go long.
They do cold. It's cold. It's, what was it?
40.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
But do you need 6 minutes?
No, you don't. No.
Does it really make a difference? Like from 3 minutes to 6 minutes?
No,
6 minutes?
No, because it's a 3-minute mark that's difficult. After that,
totally. That's what I mean. You're like, no, you can just sit there.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like at a certain point,
but I also think if you for like the other side of it, if you pay for it, then you kind of want, it's quite expensive to do a plunge there. Then you want to.
How much is it?
I bought like a package.
How much? Can't wait.
I think we paid
You could have paid a month's rent for an apartment.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm in the U.S. for a week of meetings.
It's research. It's research.
Yeah. That's why we need to be close to Remedy so we can do it. So we paid like 400 something for a 10-pack.
A 10-pack. Okay.
Yeah. But it's 10 minutes breath work, and then
that's very normal,
and then it's 6.
Right? I mean, that's like a group fitness class.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, basically.
Which is crazy because it's 6 minutes.
6 minutes.
But yeah, it's such a great way to start the day.
Yeah.
And I definitely think in terms of Nordic Strong here doing collabs, that's what you should do.
Yeah. It's funny because I mean that makes sense, but like everybody has their own theory on. What you can do, and I'll trust you guys. You guys have been doing a lot longer.
You should. The Danish scientist Susanna Søberg.
Yes,
she was on Huberman as well.
Of course. Yeah, she's consulting for Sauna House.
Yeah, I read that. Yeah, exactly. So I did one.
She's like the authority on it.
Yeah, right? Exactly. I interviewed her on breathwork and cold plunging last year. Wow, she's an incredible lady. But it's her you should follow. She's written some really good books as well.
Yeah, I do follow.
Yeah.
I saw her on Huberman.
Yeah.
And kind of geeked out on all the things.
Yeah.
Where can everybody find you and follow along?
So they can follow along Instagram, of course, at Nordic Strong, and I'm Nicoline Roth. Excellent. And then check out the website and hopefully, come train with us.
Yes, soon.
Soon, yeah. It's going to be after summer next year. We're going to start our pop-ups in like May.
I cannot wait. Let's do it.
That's gonna be so good.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me.
Yes.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I just wanna have peace. Pay for the bill, let them take my card, never see the receipt. Good health, we proud, but everybody around prosperity. I just wanna have peace.